All right, so we're going to do something a little bit different with our zipper tail. So I'm going to make sure that I'm looking at the edges here, and I'm going to make sure that I've got about 6 inches, enough to get my 5-inch piece out of that. Now let's scribe this in. Okay. And now typically I would take my, right now, if you've seen this before, I would take my scribe tool and I'd pull my 2.5-inch zipper tail out of the side of the bimini top. But here's what we're going to do different. If you remember the back of the boat, that aft curtain is literally straight up and down from the aft of the bimini top. If I make this zipper tail curve to the same shape as the bow on the bimini top, it's going to make that tail want to stick out just a little bit. So what I want it to do is I want it to tuck underneath, so I'm going to give it more radius in there. And I'll show you. So let's pull this. So I'm going to pull this all the way down. Now, I'm not going to use this mark, but I'm going to just draw it in. Okay. This is a ruler that can be bent as radiuses, and it'll kind of stay. Adjustable spline ruler, 36 inches, made by somebody that I can't tell. So they're available. You don't have to have this. It just kind of makes it a little bit easier. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to we need the 2.5 inches. So I'm going to pull down 2.5 inches off of the bottom line. Actually, you know, I'm going to jump ahead. Let's get this out of the way so that we know what you're looking at here. Let's adjust our scribe tool to 5 inches. Remember, we said we want a 5-inch pocket. So let's I typically draw this all out before I cut it, but I'm going to cut it out so that it simplifies it so you can see what's going on. All right, so there's our pocket that's going underneath. Now we need our zipper tail. So I just measured down 2.5 inches from the top up here on both of these sides. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this radiused ruler and I'm going to draw that in tighter. So okay, so now this line doesn't exist any longer, nor does this one. Let's adjust this again. 2.5. And now we'll come up here and start scribing in. Okay. So now we've got, and I just know this from experience, we've got a little bit of a problem, because remember when I just said that the radiuses change. So the actual length, the length on the top edge of this and the bottom edge of this are different. Overall, they're different. This may be an inch shorter on the inside radius than it is on the outside radius. And what we did was we just put another 2 radiuses that are even extend further outside of our original scribe line. So if I put this on the center of this bimini top, well, look, you know what? If you flip this over the way that it's going to go, you line these centers up, this piece is going to be too short. I'll show you. When you start walking it out, I just lied. Never mind. I'll cut that out of there when I get to editing. So, okay, so now we definitely have to remember that we've got 2 sides to this fabric, and now the inside of this is going to become the good side. So, and we've got, again, we've got 1.5 inches of zipper that needs to come up inside this pocket. So we need to make sure that we get a minimum of 1.5, probably closer to 2 inches of a fold. And stitch this down, making certain that you have that these 2 lines right there are parallel each other when you make that fold. Put our binding attachment on. And bind the inside edge. All right, so again, we got to remember that it makes you want to feel as though that it's opposite, or the good side's the outside, but just keep that in mind. Actually, I got the right zipper. So let's pull our zippers out right to the edge, and then we can okay, stitch this on the inside so that the edge of the teeth are right on the edge of that binding right there. And then leave yourself, half an inch, 3/4 of an inch, just enough to get those 2 zippers going. You can cut this side up and then All right. So now that we've got our pieces, we need to, once again, you need to flip this over, right? So we're putting actually the good side to the good side. So when you sew it and open it up, it still looks like it's the good side. And zipper tail goes on first. And what I'm going to do is, because this is a different radius, I'm going to kind of just walk this side out here a little bit. And then I'm going to put a mark where I want to start my sewing. All right, and now this goes with the good side up. So when I sew it and fold it all the way up around, we've got the bottom showing on the bottom there. All right, so make sure that you get that back tacked and then get that lined up. And all right, so this is this fabric is very heavy, and you can distort this quite a bit. So what I'll do is hold it with my fingers and hold the top with the, I don't know. You just have to mess with it. But sometimes I'll get it lined up and then come over here and actually pull it through. Actually, another trick is to take spray silicone, and you can spray silicone on this rubber coating back here, and it'll make it slide better on your table. So just take your time, basically. All right, so instantly you want to pull your tail out, you flip the pocket underneath. Okay, so now what I'm doing is I'm actually top stitching on both the top and, hang on just a second, I'll show you. And on the bottom, on the inside in here is also getting top stitched. And if you do it right, you'll have the same amount of top stitch so that you're not pulling that pocket one way or another. So I'm just taking my thumb and I'm kind of rolling the pocket underneath and feeling it where it is and holding it in place. And then you don't want to take real big bites of this. So I'm only sewing 4 or 5 inches at a time before I reset myself and line up. So, and again, this Sea Mark fabric is not a great beginner fabric. I mean, it's heavy and it's sticky and it's thick. So if you're just starting out, I recommend that you use just a normal sunbrella. Now here's another thing. There's, I don't know how many layers of fabric. You got 3 seams and they're all folded over and they're all doubled, and you're gonna have a huge bump right here. And then it drops off and your toe's gonna wanna get stuck on that and not come through. So you can either try to do it fast or manipulate it. But with my knee lift, I'm gonna actually get here and then I'm gonna lift my knee up, and I still got stuck. So actually lift my knee up to get over that big bump to give myself some time there. So there again, that's just some experience. Okay. I said, hang on, let me flip this over. I said I was going to do this next time I had a Bimini top course or an enclosure. Look, I'm not naive enough to sit and think that I'm the only person out here putting tutorials on online. So here's what I've seen, and it's absolutely just drives me out of my mind. I've watched these guys start to tell you that you need to move these pockets in order to fit the bar, the tube that's going through here, and then they'll actually come over to this other edge and sit and tell you that they want this curved pocket to come out being sewn straight so that you give yourself the room in there. I'm not even going to get into detail about what they're even attempting to do, but that's ludicrous. You put your seam allowance in this seam, and that bar, if you put a 1-inch bar in there and pull this out tight as it's going to go, you're not going to lose anything. The only thing that you're going to do is you're going to make it not fit properly because you're trying to monkey with this pocket and not getting it pulled out straight enough. So I do not tape these tails down, and I don't alter it at all. I lay it down so it's perfectly flat on here, and then I'll literally put just a dot right where I want this zipper to start so that I can move the zipper slider out of the way, put that back on the dot, start the stitch, and then I can zip that back together. And now here I'm going to take an extra amount of time to hold this pocket and hold the zipper down so that these pieces are laying exactly the way you pattern them. So here you can see that this is a straight zipper, but it's sewn at a little bit of a curve right there. So I'm going to hold the pocket down, make sure the pocket's in the right spot, and then let the zipper just pucker up as I come around the corner. So that's it. Make it as simple as possible. And now what we're going to do is I'm going to cut my radius off for the zipper tail. Now that's preference, okay? You can cut that off straight and square it off if you want, if that's the look you want. You can make a bigger teardrop if you want, or you can radius it off like I do. I particularly like this method because when I put my zippers in here, I'll have that corner come all the way up, I don't know, blah, 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 with the zippers that go all the way up in there, and this will be covered, but it doesn't look like it's real silly on the boat where it's flapping around. So that's just preference. So let's go to the center pockets.